One.
Yeah, well, hopefully you got us both smiling because we were just saying, pin the smile on board, everybody. Those of you who've done this kind of thing will know. Well, I'm really lucky this week because I've got Robin, and Robin is a wild woman. So I'm really keen to be talking to her. And she doesn't live too far away from me. So there's the occasional chance for us to actually meet, which makes a change nowadays.
Mm.
But Robin does wild things and she involves nature and animals very much in her coaching, but I don't know enough about it yet. So, Robin, who are you?
That is such an interesting question, isn't it, Ellen? And we talked previously about the who of you and not the what of you.
Absolutely.
And the what of me being the practitioner. So whether I'm a coach or a therapist, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle there. And very much love bringing nature and animals into what I do. But the who of me, I don't know, it's always changing, isn't it? It's a dynamic thing.
Yeah.
And it's particularly, I think, on my well-being journey and specifically over the last few years with all that's been going on and how that's impacted on my practice, both my personal practice, my well-being practice. And I think I've been doing a lot of learning recently around trauma and how that has helped me both in my work, but also personal reflections and seeing, well, how does that apply to my own life?
Yeah.
And the who am I through what I've been through, and who would I then be if I hadn't been through that, because that's shaped me. But
Yes.
also, who would I be without the trauma responses
Yeah.
that I have?
Yeah.
Who would I be if I could be just fully who I am, my soul self, the self that signed the contract to come into this life?
Oh,
you
I'm
know,
so good. Glad to hear somebody saying that again. Many of my podcast guests do, but we don't say it enough. We don't realize that, we're a spirit inhabiting what my dad used to call spacesuit for getting around on planet Earth.
oh, I heard a great one on Wednesday. My onesie, my human onesie.
Oh, absolutely. That's another really good one. Yeah. So, people, how about thinking of yourself as, you're whoever you are inside, but this is a onesie and you're just inhabiting it. It's your spacesuit. But who is this Robin inside? Because I've met her a few times and she fascinates me. And as you say, we're always changing. What's the most important thing to Robin as of now?
The word that's coming to my mind is space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having space around me, being in a space, providing a safe space, having the outdoor space that's full of nature. And
Yeah.
just before we started the recording, I could hear the bird song here, because occasionally you just get, even though it's not quite spring yet, you occasionally get this trill, and
Oh, it's
it
such a thrill.
lights me up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And having, where I'm based in Southeast Wales, we have trees and greenery. You can't actually see anybody else. So we have a little cottage just surrounded by its own space. And there are other houses around, but you can't see them because of the way the hill is all folding and the trees. And I know that I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
And we moved from the suburbs, so I'm very aware of what it's like not to have
Mm.
that space. And we moved for me because I wanted that space. And I was very conscious for people during lockdown who didn't have that space. And maybe because I used to live in London, the outskirts, but in London, in an apartment block, and you just think, ooh, that must be really, really challenging through lockdown and not being able to get out, particularly if you're a family with small kids, and how do you explain
Awful.
to them
Yeah. Awful.
all of that stuff? So space for me
Yeah.
is one of my priorities, and natural space.
Yeah. 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 I can be with you on that. I used to live in London, but we moved out in 1999. actually. So all of this century, I've been out in the country on the Welsh borders. But keep living in these places that you have to go half a mile up a muddy farm track to get to the house. And I like that.
Yeah.
I've got a lovely little town 5 miles down the road and a quite big town about 8 miles up the road the other way. And, people around and the farmer and a neighbor a quarter of a mile down the road and that. But like you, I can't see other people. And I feel, do you feel this expansion? I feel like I expand.
Yeah, and that's very important to me as well. And you were talking about how we inhabit this suit.
Yes.
But I went on a workshop years ago and we were dowsing for oils and we were creating a specific to ourselves personal blend, which would then expand our aura. So we also dowsed what is my aura, where is the kind of what is the extent, how far does it reach out from me? Then we made our blend and then we kind of inhaled and applied our blend and then we did it again. There wasn't space to get far enough away to find the edge of my aura.
No. I know
they had to nearly go off the land where we were to find the edge of my aura, which just blew me away. And it's that idea that we are within, we this suit moves us around. This suit is our way of moving around most of the time in this life, but we are actually so much more.
I know.
And I share workshops and things that talk about what do you feel when you're maybe in stress versus in flow, when you're in trauma response versus who you really are.
Yes.
And the sense of contraction versus expansion, the sense of limitation versus potential impossibility. So that's a very important aspect to me.
It is, and it is for everybody. It's something I do with my clients too. And you get someone and they thought, well, auras are a bit woo-woo, aren't they? And you go, well, everybody's got one, don't worry about it. And then you start sort of feeling like, just shut your eyes. Now, can you feel the edge of the room? And they can, and they never thought they could before. And do you get clients who say, I get them when we've done something like that, and they say, I remember when I was a child and I would lie in bed and I could see the room even though my eyes were shut. And I can remember that. And once you start somebody off on the memory, they can. Do your people do that? People who come with you?
Yeah, and the thing that when we were a child, that's okay.
Absolutely.
Because it's a childish thing, imagination and creativity. It's a childhood thing, but it isn't. And another thing when I was thinking about who am I, was I'm a child.
Yes. And I think we all
are. But I love being that child. And my wild acronym, the first part of that is W for wonder. When we can look at the world with that childlike wonder and not feel that once we're an adult, we have to put aside that the fun and the joy and the creativity and the imagination.
And
the play.
We don't. And I do it with a lot of clients because a while back, a friend said to me, you're a heartful, badass woman. And I just love it. I thought, that fits. And it's the same sort of thing that I am the child who is a bit wicked. I'm not quite at the stage now where I put a bag of flour on the top of a half-open door. But you remember things like that too. Me, no.
It's a bucket of water. I would never have thought of flour.
Yeah, well, we won't go there. But it's that part of you that sparkles. And to get that sparkle back, I think is so important. But you just said something there, and I think everybody would want to know this. You can see it on the bottom of the screen here, WILD. And it obviously isn't just the word, Come on, tell us about it.
It came about because of my own journey,
Right.
as these things do. And I had got myself into a place where I was very miserable and just thought, there's no way that anything's going to get any better. And I was at that point of, that needs to change and that person needs to be different. Out, point,
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
But then I went, I went to the doctor, I went to a counselor, I tried all the traditional mainstream things and they were not working. I knew they weren't, but I almost had to just, it was my stubborn child, I guess, my 2-year-old stuck my foot coming out. So I tried all of that, it didn't work. So I went off and I did a lot of reading. I've always been a bookworm. And through that reading and through reconnecting with people like Brene Brown, and reading people like Gabor Mate, and coming across Wayne Dyer's famous phrase, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Yes. And Bruce Lipton's phrase that the moment you change the way you look at things is the moment you change the chemistry of your body.
Yes.
And the chemistry of my body was not good. And I knew it wasn't good. And I knew from past experience that I was going back down the road towards sort of burnout and ill health. But when I read that Bruce Lipton quote, I thought, oh gosh, I can
do this.
Yeah. All I need to do is change the way that I look at things. Because when I change the way I look at things, all those things out there that are wrong and bad and negatively impacting on me would look different. Yes. Plus the chemistry of my body, i.e. my well-being, will change. Yeah. Light bulb moment.
Absolutely.
And in that exploration, it was, well, how do I, what way would suit me to look at things? Yeah. Compared to where I'm looking, the way that I'm looking at things now. So how was I looking at things now? And there was a lot of bitterness and anger and resentment and cynicism and all of those things, the baggage that we create through our lives. Yeah. Right, how do I want to look at things instead? And exploring that, it was, well, what lights me up? What makes me feel expansion? What makes me feel joy? What makes my heart sing? And it was nature. Why? What does that do for me? What is it in nature? How does that make me feel? So a sunset, the sea, trees, all of these things. A starlit night, the moon, always. As a child, I can remember my bedroom window was a corner, so I could see quite a good vista. And there was, although I lived in the suburbs of a city in Belfast, there was a motte, so they think it might be a burial mound or whatever it was used for, with trees on it that I could see from my bedroom window, and the moon was quite often above it. And I would just be in awe of this thing that hangs in space, and we see different aspects of it depending on where it is in relation to the earth and the sun. Oh my goodness, all that's in space. That whole sense of, I'm so tiny. The creation is so much bigger, and yet I was created. Something made me. So it was that childlike sense of, that just wordless awe and wonder and innocence in the best beautiful sense of the word, not as in not guilty, but as in, I just love everything and it's so exciting and it's so new, and I don't understand it, but that's okay. Beginner's mind. And so that was where the W came from. And then also the idea that we to connect in with that changing of how we look at things and stepping more fully into who we are, particularly as women. We need to go within, we need to follow our yin energy, and we need to listen to our bodies and our gut, knowing that we have a head brain, heart brain, and gut brain at least. So the I is for intuition, but also for integrity, because when we live with integrity, and I love these words that are multiple meanings. So if we live with our personal integrity, not worrying about the world and what it tells us is right or wrong, or the moral code of the culture in which we live, but our own personal, this is right for me, this is not right for me.
Yes.
When we live with integrity by that, we have structural integrity. Therefore, we have health and well-being.
Yes.
The L kind of then was further on from that, loving ourselves, because we don't.
Most people
So
don't.
often we don't. And we've been taught, put other people first. And we may have also come to a belief because of trauma, as in the way Gabor Mate understands trauma, not big necessarily trauma of the life-changing diagnosis or anything like that, but just the little things that mount up.
Yeah.
We come to the belief, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
So we don't love ourselves. We look at society and social media and we think we should be a certain age, a certain shape, a certain weight, size, intelligence, whatever it is. Yeah. And we always find ourselves wanting, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we don't love ourselves.
Yeah.
So the loving ourselves as we are and as we are not. And as we've talked about, the messiness.
Yes.
Life is messy, and that's part of the wonder and part of the joy and potential of it. Because if it was not messy and it was too neat and tidy, yeah, that would pretty much be.
I can't live there.
No.
Like you're going to the house and garden exhibition, isn't it? Yeah, I can't sit on that chair.
You can't touch anything, and you can't be comfortable, and you can't be yourself.
Or you go around one of these huge houses in, the Lord Thingamajig's house or something, and everything's roped off. And
yes,
oh my
National
God.
Trust properties.
Where
yeah, it's preserve it as it is, fine, but not in my life. That just
but it's stale and stagnant, and life is messy.
Yes, and full and abundant.
Absolutely. So
wonderful.
What is the D in this then?
The D stands for dance with life, which kind of is all of the former brought together, and the fact that life just is what it is.
Yes.
It is a bit messy, and it can be passionate, and it can be slow, and the tempo can change, the direction can change. If you think of maybe yourself as the female role, so life is leading the dance sometimes you're leading where you want to go.
Yeah.
But it goes in different directions at different times, and different steps and movements and music and tempo, but it's rich. And if you watch anything like Strictly Come Dancing, where they teach the people how you need to feel the dance, and you need to live the dance and express the dance, and you can't do a tango unless you get passionate.
No.
And all of those sorts of things.
Try not to do a tango with a bloke you don't like either, because it won't work.
No, but you need to be working with your partner.
Absolutely.
It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's funny you saying that, because I think maybe some people know, but one of my what they call bragging rights is I used to dance for Arlene Phillips. Oh, not in a group or anything like that. I was part of the teaching squad, and a friend of mine who taught, she said, come on, you be my demonstrator. You come every day, and you do it and do it right, and then everybody can watch you, and then I can go around and look after them and prepare them. This was at Pineapple in London, and which was gorgeous. I have never been so fit in my life, but it was totally amazing. But before that, my first degree was in dance, and so I totally have this. Life is a dance. It really, really is. And you learn, you work, even if you're dancing solo, you're dancing in a space, and you're dancing with the space around you, and trees or flowers or furniture or whatever the hell it is. And if you're dancing in a group or with a partner, it's so exhilarating, isn't it? Because you get this connection. When it's working, you're both thinking, you can think each other.
Yeah.
Completely. And that's how life should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All of
And
it.
the joy of that,
Yeah.
and the wildness of that, the wilderness of that as well. If you're dancing with somebody that maybe you don't know very well and you're still exploring that,
Yeah.
the wilderness in the sense that Brene Brown talks about it. I've just finished listening to the audiobook of her Braving the Wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
So the unknown and stepping
Yes.
in the strength of vulnerability into that
Absolutely.
unknown,
Mm.
and just allowing yourself to not know
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and to see where that takes you,
Yeah. Yeah.
in trusting and all of that scary sighting stuff.
Yeah. And
But
people get,
just, if I can just say as well, that I think often we take life so too seriously, which I certainly did, and that was a lot of my learning.
mm.
Stop all this seriousness. And I love Abraham Hicks, and I have an audio recording on CD which I play in my car sometimes, and one of the quotes, there's a recording of a live event that Abraham was talking to an audience, and they say something along the lines of, you all take all of this far too seriously.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just love Abraham's sense of humor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole audience then were just in stitches. It's so true,
It
because we
is.
just relate to that.
It is. It very much is. And it's back to this thing, is it stops you being you. I can't do that because, I can't do that because sort of thing. And I had a similar phrase when I was growing up again from dad, was, life can be very serious, but never solemn. And he was like that. He was a nutty anarchist. It counts for me. Mother was the same. So, but it is, we don't need to be solemn. I mean, the old hippie phrase, lighten up.
Yeah.
You know, it's, the sun will probably shine tomorrow morning. And if it doesn't, well, it's too bad anyway. But whatever it is, the sun will probably shine, the birds will probably sing, and there will be some good in the world, however bad things are. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean to say that you don't need to take them seriously, because you do, but get proportion. Would that be right?
And also, the fact that there's bad in the world is not a reason for the not seeing the good. In
No.
fact, I think it's in Brene Brown's book where she says that she has talked to lots of people who've been through really bad stuff.
Mm.
And they say that it's actually important for people to have fun,
Yeah.
because it means the bad stuff, I can't remember what way she put it, but something like that, it's actually, our experience is worth it, that
Yeah.
we went through that, because we know that you understand. If
Yes.
you're enjoying the good, you understand. You're not dismissing
Mm.
the fact that we've been through bad. You're just saying, but the good needs to be enjoyed,
Yes.
because we know there is the other side, which is so challenging.
Mm.
So we need to really celebrate the good.
Yeah.
So we're acknowledging you, and we're celebrating kind of you as well
Yeah.
in that, rather than we all have to go around in hair shirts. And anybody kind
No,
of
I
gets
don't do
that
hair
old
shirts.
fashioned that old fashioned reference,
Yes.
but that we go around punishing ourselves
Yes.
just so that we can, I feel your pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't, it belittles the pain rather than actually respecting it in some way.
In some ways, yes, I think it does. I feel that, I mean, I come out of a shamanic witchy tradition, and always they say, you're going to go through death in order to get the other side. And, so you go to some of the more modern core shamanism things, and, they'll go and bury you in the earth or do something weird. If that turns you on, that's absolutely fine. Far be it from me to stop you. You don't need to do that. But if you, as you say, respect the bad that's happened to you, or what does feel bad, the pain points, and respect them, and then you start working with them. In how I was brought up is, you befriend them, you befriend your pain, you befriend the thing that's hurting you. Now, what's going on? What have you got for me? What do you need from me? And once you start that conversation going, you find your way out, and you also find what you've learned, don't you?
That's it. To me, pain is an opportunity, an invitation
Yeah,
to sit down and dialogue and learn,
yeah.
because it's always a teacher.
Always, absolutely.
When we can listen, when we can sit
Yeah,
and we can dialogue with it,
yeah,
it offers us wisdom
hmm,
for sure.
yeah. And do you feel that's part of your job and my job, is that we will sit beside the person with their pain and sort of say, I'm here, I'm beside you. Let's get deep into there. Let's find out what's going on. I'm still here to support you. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. But come on, let's not run away from it. Let's go in.
I think for me, it's like Gabor Mate's compassionate inquiry.
Yeah.
We're there to maybe role model to a degree,
Yes.
but there to say to somebody, like you say, I'm here, I'm beside you, you're safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah.
And we can sit and we can dialogue with your pain,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it'll all be okay.
Yeah. And it may take us a while,
Yeah.
but I'm here as long as it takes.
And there is no right or wrong. There is
No.
no, we have to do this by a certain number of hours or whatever, certain period of time. It
No.
takes as long as it takes.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And if we have to revisit, because I think sometimes we think, I'll go to therapy, and what was I heard the other day? One and done. That's it.
No. Life's not
And
like
then
that.
no, but then people, because I've been there, we think I should have, I did it wrong
Oh,
the first time, or I'm not good enough. I've slipped back into bad habits. To me, I'm saying no. What is actually happening is that you've gone down a new layer.
yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is. And you should celebrate, or you can celebrate, not should, I don't like that word,
No,
but
I
you can
don't.
celebrate because
Yeah.
you are now ready for something deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll even sort of say, like, it depends on how deep we're going, but you're now up for it.
Yeah.
You've done the fitness training kind of thing. But when I
Yeah.
was training with the psychotherapy, one of my teachers, lovely woman, Barbara, um, we were discussing the whole word should. And so she said, how do you spell should? SHOULD. So she went, should us, should us, should us, because put an ER on it and it's your shoulder. So what are you shouldering?
Yeah.
And I just, as you can tell, I never forgot. I was like, Barbara, that nailed it.
Yeah. And this is where words are so powerful.
Aren't they?
They can help us to remember things,
Yeah.
and they can reveal how we see, interpret, perceive things.
Yeah.
So we will say things like, I shouldered that, or that felt like a burden.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we do carry burdens, and, okay, realize you're carrying them, decide, or, get some help with choosing whether you want to carry them. And if you don't, ask some advice, how can I put this damn thing down?
Or at least lighten it a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm really fed up with this. Can life give me a break from this one? Um, because there are always ways. But often you have to, like, and this is the vulnerability I feel again, you have to open up to say, I'm actually not liking this. I need different. So,
And as well, I think in the world that we live in today,
mm,
it's that that you come to the realization that that's okay to
yes,
say, I'm not liking this,
yeah,
or I'm struggling with this,
yeah,
or this is really uncomfortable for me,
mm,
rather than feeling that we just have to grin and bear it, we just have to get on with it.
yeah, yeah. There still seems to be a lot of that about, but hopefully people are getting the idea that you don't have to do that. You can actually sort of say, time out, time out, at least for a little bit. And then we'll see where we are and what happens. What do
And
you
that can give you a new perspective, just that time out,
think it does?
and a new understanding.
Yeah, yeah.
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 whole new way of seeing things.
It does. It's like, no, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go the other way. I wanted to ask, we've done quite a bit of it, but I wanted to ask you, what is your mega passion that keeps you quite happy living on planet Earth?
Sharing what I've learned and seeing people have those aha
Oh,
moments.
yeah.
And it's not about, I took this step, this step, this step, this step, do the same.
Mm.
That's you sorted.
Yeah.
It's more about, this is what I've learned, that we can dialogue with our
Yeah.
pain and our discomfort and our
Yeah.
challenges, and that can give us wisdom, that our bodies hold wisdom,
Yeah.
and that we can explore our symptoms to unlock that wisdom. Once we've taken that on board, it shows us how we can get back to a healthier, happier place.
Yes.
And understanding what exactly trauma is.
Mm.
And I think coming against the misconceptions and misbeliefs that culture and society condition us into.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
Yeah.
Taking that off and seeing people suddenly, like you say, expand, blossom, light up, because it's not anything I do. I just share realizations I had and hope that helps to unlock something for them, and that they have their own realizations through that, because it has to, their stuff is their stuff and their journey is their
Absolutely.
journey.
Yeah.
So there's nothing I can do except share what I've learned, and then let them take that and use it as they will, and in the steps that are right for them and in the pathway that's right for them.
Yeah.
So to watch them do that,
oh, it's
that's
amazing. It's so beautiful. I mean, I've had tears come to my eyes when somebody's done it in front of me, on Zoom as well as in person, and you just go, whoa, and you see this person, you've seen the change in them. It's more than even just the expression and the fact that they were like this and suddenly they're like that. It's something happens and you see it, and it is just so beautiful
and powerful and inspirational. And you look at somebody going through that process, and you just see Brene Brown vulnerability and strength and power in action, don't you?
Yeah. And vulnerability and power, don't know whether everybody out there realizes this, but they are absolutely like that. You won't have the power to enable yourself or enable others if you are not totally vulnerable. And it is just so important. But it takes a while to get your head around that, doesn't it? Because your brain's sort of been conditioned, as you said.
And I think it takes small incremental bits of experience of it. So you can read it, you can understand it cognitively, but maybe not yet really have it as a part of who you are until you experience it. And that sometimes takes that courage to just take that step.
You never could
and
go.
I'm going to try this and see how it pans out. And it's also choosing where you do that, because there are some spaces that are safer to do it than others.
And that again is something that people like you and me can provide, either in a group or one-to-one or whatever, or even in a webinar. I mean, I've had it happen to me, and I'm watching somebody, listening to somebody on a webinar, I just go, oh, that one won't click. And it takes all sorts of different things to do it. And that actually brings me to, because I know you've got some new things coming up, Robin. So what are the things that people can actually come to you for?
So I already run a thing called Introduction to MetaConsciousness, which is all about looking at meta, the overarching consciousness way that we look at the world. Because our bodies, really, like Bessel van der Kolk cells, they keep the score. And so when we come to really understand, and I see a lot of people who talk about symptoms, and you've manifested this in your life, and your body anyway, it's just, I don't know how to put it into words, but it's kind of, to me, not quite getting, it's nearly there because it's different from the mainstream way of looking at your symptoms and your body's attacking itself and it's going wrong. It's not quite that, but it's still not quite getting to the nub of how we can look at our symptoms and understand them. And this work that I do, it's based on science, but it also has a lot of spirituality in it, because again, we are mind, body, spirit. The mainstream separates the two. And they look just at specific parts. They're very mechanical and Newtonian, whereas this is a way that brings it all back together, and that shows us how we can be like detectives and find out the wisdom that's within whatever's going on for us, whether it is mind, body, spirit, whatever, in order to understand ourselves more deeply. And then to know what supports me best, what allows me to be my best self. So it's that really true, fit your mask before anybody else's, make sure you're living from a full cup, all of that stuff. It's really true self-care.
It is.
But within that whole, because we can't separate ourselves from the whole either. If we are taking care of self, it doesn't mean I'm taking myself out and I'm taking care of myself and you're just doing your own thing. If I'm taking care of myself and I'm shifting my energy by getting back into who I truly am and allowing my light to shine, it's supporting everything else.
And that happens through this, there's that lovely lemniscate, the figure of 8 in its side. And
the infinity.
Exactly. And you go out and in and out and in, and going right back to 6,000 years ago, ancestors down in Cornwall, but in other places as well. There's the most beautiful labyrinth, which is called the Troy Town. And you go into the center and then you come out. And so it's not a maze. You don't get lost in it. It leads you in by all these curving, winding paths. Troy Town comes from Ceri Troiu, which you probably may know from Welsh, means city of turns. And so you go in and out, different ways, and you come right out to the edge, and then you go right into the middle, and then you come back out again. And it's that you go in to find something, come out. And we do this all the time, every day. And nothing's stuck, which is, it's such fun, isn't it?
And talking about that, sometimes when we feel stuck, just getting up and moving can start things to shift, because we get into that. It's either our body. So if my body isn't moving very well, then I exercise, I stretch, whatever. But we're not making the connection between, well, maybe my body is tight because my mind is holding on to something because it's fearful or whatever, but it's all interconnected. So this course looks at that. It's a 3-day workshop, face-to-face, but I've also created it as an e-learning course, because not everybody can come here to Wales, and I've had inquiries from the US and from Australia, so obviously to send it out further afield, I've created an e-learning module on that. I also have a workshop that I absolutely love called Enjoy Your Life. So bringing joy.
Spell that, because I know how you spell it.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Yes.
Bringing joy in. And I think I got that from Neil Donald Walsh. I think he was the first person that I read saying, if you look at the word or listen to the word enjoy, it is actually in joy, bringing joy in. And I think that relates very much to Abraham Hicks as well. So enjoy your life is all about the things we've been talking about, looking at what our body is telling us. So is it telling us that I'm feeling small and constricted and contracted and fearful, or is it feeling joyful, expansive, and how we can use that to be our guide?
Yes.
So when we have choices to make, sometimes where I don't know, I've lost my sense of direction, I don't know what to do, and I've got too many choices and I feel overwhelmed. But if we can just get back to the present moment and back to tuning into our bodies will let us know. And also, if we've made a choice and it doesn't turn out the way we think it doesn't work how we want it, that's fine. I have this thing where you yell plot twist and just away.
Oh, I love that.
Because sometimes we're so afraid, aren't we,
Yeah.
to admit
Oh, it
that
didn't
maybe we
work.
made a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Made a decision that didn't work,
Mm.
particularly if we've had people who maybe told us that we were making a wrong decision. And it
With
might not
that
be the
kind of
decision that was
face on.
wrong. Might not be the decision that was wrong, it was the time or whatever. It just wasn't completely right. It's not to say that the ones who were naysayers were right,
Mm.
but it's so difficult then to say, actually, I need to change my mind now.
Yeah.
But if we can have that sense of humor, which is so essential, and just go plot twist and go off in another direction, it's
Yeah,
all okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So that's two of the things going down.
Yeah, so that's face to face, and it's also online as
Yeah,
well.
which is good.
And I have a Facebook group in which I have a monthly Ask Me Anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just for free. People can come along and they can ask me. Last week is the end of each month, and last week's was somebody came on and said, well, I've got psoriasis, but I don't understand because I'm actually in a better place in my life right now than I've been for ages. So why have I got this suddenly flare up on some specific parts, but also generalized parts across her body? So we were able to look at what was going on for her. And this is a misconception that I talk about in the MetaConsciousness workshop, that we think that that's a stress symptom. Actually, a lot of the time, the symptoms that we have, that we experience, they're happening when our body has gone, thank goodness I can let go of that now. So our body is detoxing of all the stress and the changes that we made to survive the stress. So the symptoms are actually generally coming out when we're healing.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's not the body attacking itself. It's not the body going wrong. But when we look at where in your body, what tissue is it, that gives us so much information to know, well, what was my belief that wasn't serving me? How do I reframe that belief to something that serves me better? How do I learn more about myself? How do I step more into that?
Yeah. 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 Indeed. And that is such an important thing. I live with it, you live with it. And it's so good once you get people to understand that. So,
and in relation to that as well, one last thing I have, and this is every 2 months, I have it's going to be a Zoom call webinar called Have We Been Getting Wellbeing All Wrong? And you look at the current situation, you look at the situation in the NHS, doctors and nurses, not, their working conditions, their pay levels are incredible.
Yeah.
Which is really, really unbelievable. And so things are going south fast.
Yeah.
But could we actually be creating that because of the way that we look at well-being and the expectations that we have and how we give away our agency?
Yes.
Rather than how could I support my own well-being? And also, like we've just been talking about, we grow, we learn, we become more fully who we are, which serves our well-being.
Yeah. And is the root of well-being, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. You are what you eat. I'm with that, but
you are what you take in, but you take in so much more than food.
That's what I was thinking.
You take in everything, what you read, what you listen to, what you follow in social media, what you hear on the news, or the television programs you watch, or the books you read, the people you spend time with, what you listen to on the radio.
Digesting all of that, and then either digesting it or having it, cause ructions in your heart stomach or your mental stomach or whatever. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be really, really fun. So we will put all the links of these things into the show notes of the podcast so that you can get them and go and visit with Robin, because it's just so exciting. And I love being wild, and you are deliciously wild.
Thank you. I love that.
So it's really good. But we've got something else to say, haven't we? Just as a finisher off. Um, I can't remember the date.
The first one is the 23rd, I believe.
I think well, that's when we're recording it, isn't it? I think it's going to go
I
out.
thought we were doing it live so that people could ask questions.
Oh, heck. Right. There's going to be a little bit of planning going on. 23rd of February, people. Robin and I are just doing a half-hour webinar together talking about wild things and your wild inside and how nature and simple little things like walking down the pavement in your town can help you actually contact this wild inside. So 23rd of February, not long, but we'll be stuff out on both of our channels, so it'll be fine. Come along and ask questions, and we will be throwing ideas around, won't we?
We will, yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. And we were talking about the different topics that we might look at as well, and possibly having a series of these.
Yes.
So it's something that we can explore and develop. And if you wanted to come along to watch the series and watch it as we explore it and develop and take questions, and because we want it to be responsive, don't we? And to meet people with the question that they have, and the curiosity, and to work up that dance, that partnership,
it is that
collaboration,
and it's
that evolution.
And enabling you guys to come and ask questions of a couple of women who have their own experience to offer up. And we probably have themes, at least start off with themes each time. But on the other hand, in the meantime, if you want to get on to message either of us in any of our channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, and say, you can talk about this.
Definitely.
We're very happy with that. Robin, it's been a delight. And I'm so glad it's not going to be the last time.
Yes, yes. I think this is such a good time for this kind of exploration, and I'm excited to see where it might lead.
I am too. So all of Robin's details will be in the show notes, and get in touch with that. I really recommend it. It's fun. And that's always a good reason for doing things. And for my powerful woman of this week, goodbye, Robin. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Helen. I've really loved being here with you.